Pregame.com.
Sunday Night Football, Indianapolis Colts travel to the Steel City to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Scott, have you ever seen as much hype off of one game as we've had for Andrew Luck last week?
No, not at a preseason game. You know, maybe Tim Tebow with Denver when he got on that little run, but as far as preseason, never in my life have I seen a rookie quarterback play 2 quarters of football or whatever he played, less than that, and receive this much attention.
You know, obviously they put up some numbers. They scored, a ton of points, 38 points last week. Let's remember something. They played the St. Louis Rams. The Rams are bad. They won 2 games last year, and that was with their quarterback. The Colts won 2 games when they didn't have Peyton Manning. So not a good team. I think it's an overreaction, and I know a lot of people feel differently on this, but I am old school. I got to see more than one game. I've always said nobody is as good as their best game, nor are they as bad as their worst game. And there's a lot of wise guys around town that are jumping on the Colts.
60-yard plus touchdown pass was a 3-yard pass where Andrew Luck did a great job of reading the pocket collapsing in a quick manner, dumped it off to a running back, and there was fantastic blocking by the receivers downfield, by the offensive line in the first 5 yards. Touchdown. That was your 60-yard pass. It was a 3 or 4-yard pass. You mentioned, by the way, some wise guys who were jumping in and playing Indianapolis over 5.5 wins, and I think they were full limit bets as far as it could go out here with Cantor. And if you go on the site right now, which you obviously are if you're watching this, but at pregame.com on the homepage, R.J. Bell went one-on-one with Steve Fezzik, 2-time Super Bowl NFL winner here in Las Vegas, which I don't think has ever been done before. It was back-to-back, but he spoke about betting over 5.5 wins, and you can listen to that on the pregame homepage. When I was talking with VR and again with Benjamin Eckstein on the first preview radio show, my thoughts were that I'm scared of, I figured this team had a 6-win potential this year if everything worked out well going into that game. I'm watching the game, Andrew Luck, his team, his offense, thinking about we got to help people get past the whole Peyton Manning era. They were motivated to the 10th. The Rams were thinking about let's get out of here without injuries. So you had that going for you. Nice design plays by the offensive coordinators, by the way, to get Andrew Luck some breathing time when he's going to pass the football. The positives, great command of the huddle from a rookie quarterback in his first start. You could see that. And you could also see his pocket presence real good. And when he had to throw after taking a couple of steps, accuracy, strong arm, the whole ball of wax. But this team has a brand new offensive line in some positions. They have to get a chemistry going. The defense just took a huge, massive hit. Biggest injury right up there with Green Bay's defensive injury was Pat Angerer for the Indianapolis Colts, who's probably going to miss the first 3 to 4 regular season games. They're going from a 43 to a 34. He's the anchor. He's the middle linebacker. Leading tackler for the Colts last year. He's the quarterback for the defense. He makes all the changes on all the calls, does all the reads. He's gone for the first 3 or 4 games, which might balance out the fact that their first 3 games 2 of them are winnable. They're thinking going into the bye week 2-1. Without Pat Angerer, it gets a little bit tougher.
Yeah, and this week, and let's put it what it is. They're not going against the St. Louis Rams this week. This is a preseason game, and the Steelers don't have anything to prove.
Right.
But the Steelers still, top to bottom, a much better team than St. Louis Rams. So Andrew Luck's not going to have an easy go of it. And the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, we talk about different coaches and their philosophies in preseason. Mike Tomlin, ever since he's come to Pittsburgh, he's a guy that likes to win. Doesn't matter when it is. He wants to win ball games. I like them here against Andrew Luck. I think they're going to confuse him a little bit. He had a good presence of the offense, but let's remember, he came from a pro-style offense in college, so his
a little bit smarter than the normal guy coming out of college.
Absolutely.
With Harbaugh as his coach.
Right. Harbaugh jumping to the 49ers, but, his whole career, Andrew Luck.
First 3 years.
Yeah. So he has a great foundation. Can he do it this week on the road? Now it's going to be on national TV. So the hype's going to be even more.
You know what else comes into play here? I swear to God, nobody's going to come in here right now and maybe say, unless we get an ex-player that says you are absolutely right. But I know those Steeler defenders, whether they're first string or fourth string, have been reading all the clippings about Andrew Luck and this great new young rookie ready to come in and destroy the NFL defenses. There's that little hair that sticks up on the back of their neck where I know they want to come in and they want to make some bones by getting an interception against Luck, by getting a sack against Andrew Luck. That all comes into play. There's all this attention. He's a good guy. Nobody thinks he's a cocky guy when he's out there, but they still want to prove something when those cameras are on, when the spotlight on, which is this case because it's a marquee game on TV, and it's Andrew Luck. My thoughts on this, Marco, is that you're going to see an under. And not only because I think the speed gets a little bit harder to judge for Andrew Luck this week, and next week in the dress rehearsal, he's going to see NFL speed. I don't care if it's the Cincinnati Bengals or not. That defense is NFL speed. He's going to see the first stringers. He didn't see that against the Rams other than 1 or 2 series, and that speed factor going from college to NFL is the biggest factor in a new quarterback taking over an offense. So we're going to see a lot more about Andrew Luck this week and next week. As far as Pittsburgh, don't like the way they reacted to that new Todd Haley offense last week, keeping guys in the pocket. Big Ben sacked twice. All their quarterbacks sacked a total of 7 times. And if you look at it, Big Ben didn't have 1 carry because he's trying to get used to staying in the pocket, and they took a bunch of sacks. Even without Pat Angerer in there, he wasn't going to play the whole game anyway. I think you're going to see a lower scoring game than this total says.
Well, the one play that Ben did have a big play on was vintage Ben.
Get out of the pocket.
He got out of the bag, and made something happen, throwing on the run. The Steelers got offensive line problems. It seems like
and they're trying to keep the quarterbacks in the pocket at the same time.
Every year we talk about. Normally we're not talking about shifting the line around till mid-season with injuries, but they are trying to get an offensive line in place. So they've got some work to do there. And the Steelers are trying. They've got some problems at running back. Mendenhall's not going to be back till probably week 6. You've got last guy just
Clark.
No, the Redmond, off I had on my notes. He's got an MRI. He's got a groin injury. He's day-to-day, so you're not going to see him this week. They got to find another running back. Now, they're real high on the kid out of Florida. He's having a great camp. Chris Rainey, super. So you talk about speed kills. You get this guy coming out of the backfield. If he breaks one open, and then once they get Mike Wallace signed, which they will, this will be a team. You've got speed all over the place. Look for him to get a lot of runs, and they're going to look at these other running backs to try to establish who they're going to have going into the regular season without having Mendenhall for a while. So I agree with what you're saying on the under. I think the Steelers' focus is they're learning this.
They have to get the running game going too to protect what they're trying to do with the quarterback now. Absolutely, I agree.
So that's going to take, if you're running the ball, it's going to shorten the game. You've got Andrew Luck. Is not going to get the points that he got last week against the Steeler defense. I don't care if they keep him in, to the third quarter against the second unit. Plus, the Steelers defense got burned last week in the second unit, so they're a prideful unit. Like you said, they're going to step it up after last week.
And I think Tomlin's on a 16-5 straight-up preseason run, which means he's going to be looking at what you just said. He's going to be saying, we're not going to go through another week of our defense doing this, even though it was the reserves.
And talk about value. All season long, we're going to talk about how to find value in games. Because of the public perception from that one game with Andrew Luck and the fact that this is a national TV game, you know that Vegas has a tendency to shade the over, make it a little bit higher because it's a TV game. They know human nature, the public's going to bet the over. Add that to the Andrew Luck factor. I think this line is too high for a preseason game, and I'm going to look. I agree with you. I look to the under in this one. This is your play, and I'll throw you a little stat. Entering this year, Tomlin's record was 7-13 to the under in preseason football entering this season.
See, we don't always disagree.
No, not always. Well, when you're on the right side.
I like it.
So there you go. This is your play. Scott says to take the under. I'm going to go ahead and give him the agreement. I agree with it. Take the under on Sunday Night Football. We're going to be back next week. We'll be covering all the football action once again. He's Scott Spreitzer. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned next week here on pregame.tv.